My TNA Lockdown 2011 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view was live last night, exclusively on pay-per-view. And I gotta say, this actually wasn't a bad pay-per-view from TNA. Now, there were some lackluster stuff on this on the undercard, but I would say there were two matches on this pay-per-view in particular that really saved the show, and I would say made the show into at least a, I would say either an average TNA pay-per-view or maybe even borderline a good TNA pay-per-view, because the two matches that were good were very, very good, especially the Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett 2 out of 3 falls match for what TNA dubbed the Ultra Males Rules match, which was obviously basically a 2 out of 3 falls match. That was a great match and easily the best match of the night. Now, I know some people might, dislike the Karen Angle involvement in the match, but with the storyline and the build-up and everything, we knew she was going to play a role in the match, and I don't think she hurt the match being involved, especially since we knew it was coming, and the storyline at least made sense. At least, with the TNA storyline, it made sense for someone getting involved. So that was okay right there. And it was a great match with Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett. Them two have very good chemistry with each other. And the Lethal Lockdown match was very good with Immortals versus Fourtune. Those two matches were the two matches on this pay-per-view that if you just want to check out some matches on this pay-per-view, you need to check those two out because those were very, very good matches, with Lethal Lockdown being the second best match and the best match of the night, easily Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett. And really the only disappointment I had on this show, which probably was one match I was looking forward to the most going into the pay-per-view, was the X-Dvision Xscape match. I was looking forward to that match a lot because you had a lot of talent in that match that I thought was going to make it a great match. Now, was it a bad match? No, but it was a match that I was expecting a whole lot more from, and unfortunately, it didn't deliver to my expectations. And the rest of the pay-per-view, I would say, other than Hernandez and Matt Morgan, the rest of the matches were at least, in the category of watchable, and some of them even borderline to good matches. So let me get into my review of TNA's Lockdown 2011 pay-per-view. The first matchup was the Xscape match. This was Chris Sabin versus Robbie versus Jeremy Buck versus Max Buck versus Amazing Red versus Lethal versus Brian Kendrick versus Suicide. And the eliminations probably were the thing that really hurt this match, the way people got eliminated or who got eliminated first very early. You saw a lot of good stuff in here, even though Jay Lethal was the second person eliminated in this match. Jay Lethal did some good stuff, and really the best stuff in this match I thought was the stuff between Amazing Red and Chris Sabin. And Jay Lethal did good in here as well. The Bucks did well on here. Then the final two in this match, basically battling to escape the match, were Max Buck and Brian Kendrick, and Max Buck wins this match to become the #1 contender for the X-Division Championship. And there was some good stuff in here. I was just expecting a whole lot more from it. My expectations might have been a little too high for this match, I will admit that, but I was expecting just a little more from it. But you saw some good stuff in there for, when Jay Lethal was in there, for the time he was in there, he did some good stuff. And like I said, I think Amazing Red probably stole the match in here from what he did, and Sabin did some great stuff as well. And I like the Bucks as well. So Max Buck won this match, become the #1 contender for the X-Division Championship, and I would expect to probably see him win the X-Division Championship and then do maybe a feud with Max Buck and Jeremy Buck, because it looks like obviously they're going to still somewhat be teaming with each other, but they're kind of split, so they'll probably have a feud with Max Buck versus Jeremy Buck, which from seeing their matches they've had with each other on the indie scene, that's probably going to be some great stuff when that happens in TNA. So don't have no problem with that. I just kind of wish they would have kept these tag teams together a little better than what they are doing in TNA, because they have some great talent in the tag team division. Just right now it looks like, Max Buck and Jeremy Buck, the Generation Me, are more or less in the singles division instead of where I think they should be in the tag team division. And I would say that opening match, probably about 2 and 3/4 stars. Like I said, it was a good match. I was just expecting a little more from it. Then the next matchup was Inc. versus British Invasion versus Eric Young and Orlando Jordan versus Scott Steiner and Crimson. And I would say this was at least a watchable match. The stuff that really made this match at least into something at least somewhat watchable was Steiner in this match. He actually looked very good in this match. At one point, he was pretty much doing a belly-to-belly suplex to everyone. Inc. looked good in this match, and the only annoying stuff in here was the Eric Young and Orlando Jordan stuff. Other than that, it was actually not too bad of a match. I was actually thinking this match was going to be a whole lot worse than what it actually turned out. It was at least, like I said, a watchable match, and Inc. win this match, so the team that I think should have won this match did win this match. I think Inc. I don't necessarily think they should go for become tag team champions in TNA, but I think they could be very good contenders for the tag team titles. And they actually aren't a bad tag team. I actually, at first, didn't like them as a tag team, but now they've kind of grown on me a little bit. So this match, I'll probably give it about 2.5 stars. Like I said, you saw some good stuff in there. Steiner looked very good in that match, and Inc. did some good stuff. And it actually turned out a whole lot better than I was expecting. I was expecting this match to be probably one of the worst matches on there, and actually at least turned out to be something a little better than I was expecting. Then the next matchup was Madison Rayne versus Mickie James. This was the Knockouts title versus hair match. If Mickie James lost this match, she had to get her head shaved in this match. And thankfully, that did not happen. TNA's booking, I thought they would have done that, but they didn't. The only problem I had with this match only lasted probably less than a minute. Mickie James basically wins this match very quickly, become Knockouts champion, which I like seeing her as Knockout champion, and I'm glad she's finally the Knockouts champion. I think she should have had this title a little while ago, and it's actually finally good that TNA probably at least waited a little bit to give her the title, but after months of chasing for this title, TNA just gives her a 1-minute match on a pay-per-view, and she finally wins with very anticlimactic right there. Just she goes in there, does her thing, less than a minute, becomes Knockouts champion. And obviously, since the match was so short, I can't really give it a rating. So that's one of those matches I'll give it an NA to. So glad to see she is the Knockouts champion. I just wish we would have actually got a match, since they built it up for several months of her, finally trying to become Knockouts champion. And when she finally did, it was only a minute. Hopefully, TNA does a better job with her as Knockouts champion than what they did with Tara, aka Victoria, because they did a terrible job with her as any time when she ever had the TNA Knockouts title. Hopefully they do a better job with Mickie James as the Knockouts champion. Then the next matchup was the Pope D'Angelo Dinero versus Samoa Joe. This was actually a pretty good match for these two. Nothing, great or anything, but I would say this was a good match from these two. You saw some good back and forth action, and I liked the ending of this match where I guess Pope, he was going for the lung blower type move he goes for. Joe caught him, pretty much gets him in the corner, hits the muscle buster, then puts him into the Conquista clutch for the victory. So Samoa Joe wins this match via submission. I would say about 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 star match. It should have been given maybe a few more minutes, but for the time it was given, it was an enjoyable match, I would say. Then the next matchup was probably the only match on this pay-per-view other than, I don't really count the Mickie James and Madison Rayne match as an actual match since it was so short. So this is actually the only thing that I would say was an actual match that was terrible or something I could have dealt without, which was Hernandez versus Matt Morgan. Wasn't looking forward to this match. Morgan picks up the victory. That's all I can say with this match. I would probably give it 1.5 stars at best. Just this Hernandez and Matt Morgan feud, I've never been into it. It's just one of the worst feuds in TNA. And, Morgan at one point in TNA, looked like he was being pushed very strong. Looked like he was going to become, a World Heavyweight Champion. And, I would never want him to become World Heavyweight Champion, but that one time when they were pushing him very strong, they at least made you believe that he could have been a contender for the title. Now it's just like he's pretty much just floating around in TNA. Just they don't know what to do with him, and they're just continuing this Matt Morgan Hernandez feud. I don't know if the feud will continue. Since Morgan won this, I would say they probably should end it, but no, in TNA they'll probably will prolong the Hernandez and Matt Morgan feud, since it looks like they don't necessarily know what to do with either one, even though with Hernandez they are doing that Mexican-American stable right now. Then the next matchup was Jeff Jarrett versus Kurt Angle in the Ultra Males Rules match. In this match, the Ultra Males Rules was basically just a 2 out of 3 falls match. The first fall was submission, second fall pinfall, and then if it got to the third fall, which obviously in all these 2 out of 3 falls matches, they always get to the third fall. So the third fall was escaping the cage, or exiting the cage, either over the top or through the door. And this was a very good match with Jeff Jarrett and Kurt Angle. Started off very good. Good back and forth exchange at the beginning. The first fall was fairly short. I would say about in the first 4 or 5 minutes. That's when the first fall ended with Kurt Angle having Jeff Jarrett tap out of the ankle lock. Then Jarrett, he wins the second fall, kind of a heelish fashion, cheap tactic, where he holds the tights when the referee didn't see him, so he picks up the fall right there. Right there, they were kind of like the referee and TNA didn't do a good job right there because they made it seem like it wasn't really a 3 count, but it was a 3 count. So Jarrett won the second fall, so then it was tied 1-1. Then it went to the third fall, and Angle in the third fall looked like he was about to kill himself. You saw, there's a few spots in this match. Now, I'm not going to say that Angle, Angle was off this night, but there were a few, minor botches in this match. But I don't think those, 1 or 2 or 3 botches in this match hurt the match at all. There's one part where Angle, he was trying to escape the cage. Jarrett was on the top rope, called him into a power bomb, and then Angle reversed it. It looked like he was supposed to reverse it into a Hurricane Rana, but I don't know which one kind of messed it up, or if they were going for this way where Angle looked like he almost killed himself right there. Then Angle obviously did his move off the top rope. He obviously did his backflip off the top of the cage in this match. You saw at one point Gunner, he came out there, this was right before he was about to do his backflip off the top of the cage. Angle was trying to exit the cage. Gunner came out there with steel chair, was hitting the cage, trying to get Angle not to escape. Angle got back in the ring, climbed to the top of the cage, did his backflip onto Jeff Jarrett in this match. He did hit him. It looked like he barely hit him, though. Angle, just another spot right there that was a holy shit moment that looked like Angle really hurt himself right there. Which Angle takes a lot of these chances in TNA, and for a guy that, formerly had a guy that's had a broken neck in the past, you wouldn't think he would want to take these chances, but Angle still does, and, he does all this stuff, and, obviously I know he's got a little pain pill addiction and maybe a few other things, but other than that, Angle hasn't really had any very serious injuries since obviously he broke his neck in the Olympics, which after all the stuff Angle does actually shocks you to even say that. And then at the end of this match, you saw Karen Angle came out there. You saw Jarrett, he was kind of crawling to the ring. Angle had him in the ankle lock. Karen Angle handed Jeff Jarrett the guitar. Jarrett hit Angle with the guitar. Then Angle, I think right after that, I think they did a spot where he did the Angle slam, or it might have been a little before that. He hit the Angle slam off the top rope. And then Jarrett, he was crawling to the ring yet again. Angle got him in the ankle lock, and Jarrett was basically crawling out of the cage. Karen Angle's out there, slammed the door into Kurt Angle's face, and then Kurt Angle knocked down, and Jarrett crawls out of the ring. So Jarrett picks up the win in this match, and I would say about a 3 3/4 star match. Just a great match with these two, and even Karen Angle's involvement. We knew it was going to be we knew she was going to be involved, and she didn't really hurt the match since the storyline at least made sense for her being involved. Now, the one thing I'm curious with this, since Jarrett won this match, are they going to be continuing the feud? Now, you would think after a cage match here, that probably would have been the end of the feud, but since Jarrett picked up the win, you would think that the feud possibly could be still going on, which if it does, I wouldn't have too much of a problem with it, because Jarrett and Angle have very good chemistry with each other, and you put them in there almost any time, they're going to have a great match with each other. Probably one of the times I could say that with Jeff Jarrett. That's one person he does have very good chemistry with and he can have a great match with is Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle can pretty much have a great match with anyone. Then the next matchup was the TNA World Heavyweight Championship match. This was RVD versus Mr. Anderson versus Sting. This was a decent title match. Nothing too special here. Basically, the highlights in this match were what happened at the end of the match. You saw Hogan come out there. He came out there with a lead pipe. He handed it to RVD, basically saying, RVD, join Immortals. RVD threw it to the cage, refused it. Then Anderson hit RVD with it, and Anderson pointed to Hogan, this was for me, not for you. I'm not with you. Then right after that, you see Anderson, dragging RVD to the middle of the ring trying to get the pinfall. Then Sting hits the death drop for the victory, so Sting retains the championship. So with Hogan out here and Sting retaining the title, I don't want to say it, but I think all of us know where this is going. We'll probably see a Sting versus Hogan world title match probably sometime, and hopefully we won't have to see it at Bound for Glory, and hopefully Sting doesn't keep the title till then, because I think they should have never got the title off of Mr. Anderson. When he won the title this year, he should have been still champion at this moment right here in TNA. I don't think Anderson is, the greatest in-ring performer, but he's a good in-ring worker, and he's very over with the crowd. He's great on the mic, so he kind of has the total package, and he would have been something good to, be as world champion instead of staying yet again as world champion. Then the main event was Immortals versus Fourtune. This was the Lethal Lockdown match. It started off with Kazarian and Abyss for the first, I think it was 3 minutes. Saw some good back and forth action with them. Then Matt Hardy came in there. You saw them double teaming on Kazarian. Then Daniels came in there pretty much evening it up. Then Flair got in there. Then after that, Storm came in there. When Storm came in there, he hit Ric Flair with the beer bottle. Ric Flair got busted open, and then Flair just bled the whole entire match even more. He was very bloody in this match. Then Bully Ray came out there, the last person with Immortals. When he came in there, pretty much leveling everyone out, knocking them down, and Immortals had the advantage there. Then Roode came in there, pretty much even it up. Saw them, pretty much going, everyone knocking each other out. Then the top of the cage finally came down with the weapons, and then every member of Fourtune grabbed weapons, hitting every member of Immortals with it. And then you saw right at this point, you saw Kazarian and Daniels pretty much slam Abyss through the cage door. Abyss goes out of the cage. Daniels goes out there. See him and Abyss doing something. Then you see Matt Hardy come out there. Matt Hardy and Daniels pretty much chase each other out in the ring. Hardy climbs to the top of the cage, and Daniels climbs up there. Daniels goes for the Angel's Wings to Matt Hardy off the top of the cage, on the top of the cage. Then Matt Hardy reverses into a backdrop, pretty much almost looking like Daniels going to fall off the top of the cage. Daniels caught himself, then he got back up there. Then Matt Hardy hit the Twist of Hates. Then when Hardy was climbing down from the top of the cage to the floor, you saw inside the ring, Kazarian pretty much drop kicked the cage where Matt Hardy was trying to climb down. Then Matt Hardy fell to the floor. Then after this, you saw Daniels hit a crossbody onto Abyss and Matt Hardy. Very sick spot right there from the top. And then you saw Bully Ray in there. He had a kendo stick inside the ring, pretty much hitting everyone with it. Then Daniels was busted open towards the end of this match. And then at one point, Bully Ray, he was attacking Daniels repeatedly with the kendo stick, and then pretty much wanted to separate his shoulder by hitting the kendo stick there. And he said, "This is for your friend, your pal, AJ Styles." And then AJ Styles' music hits. He comes out there, throws Bully Ray into the cage, to both sides of the cage, back and forth. Then you see him hit the Pele kick. And then behind AJ, you see Flair, but then Roode catches Flair into the Fujiwara armbar, and then Flair taps out with Fourtune picking up the victory in this match. And a 3.5-star match, a very entertaining Lethal Lockdown match. And the Lethal Lockdown match and the Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett match, those two matches alone made this show into something I would say not a great TNA pay-per-view, because there were some lackluster stuff on the undercard, and unfortunately the Xscape match was a little bit disappointing. I was expecting more from that. But those two matches made this show, at least I would say, into an average TNA pay-per-view. Maybe even, I would say, even a good TNA pay-per-view. I'll probably give this pay-per-view an overall score of 6.75, maybe even a 7 out of 10, because those two matches were very good. And like I said, the only match that was really terrible on here that I could have dealt with that, which was Hernandez versus Matt Morgan. Like I said, I haven't been in that feud at all, and that match just wasn't good at all. And like I said, the Xscape match was a little bit disappointing, but everything else on this pay-per-view was in the category of at least a watchable match, and a good portion of them borderline good matches. And those two matches, Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett, great match with them 2 out of 3 falls. And the Lethal Lockdown match was very good, probably one of the most entertaining ones in recent years. A lot of good, entertaining stuff. You saw AJ's returning there. Daniel's doing that crossbody off the top. And just, Flair, bleeding like a stuffed pig in that match. He was bleeding a lot in that match, what you would expect. And it was at least somewhat of an entertaining TNA pay-per-view. Actually, I didn't mind this TNA pay-per-view. Just, if they would have had the undercard a little stronger, this probably would have been a good to possibly even great TNA pay-per-view. But those are the only things lacking on this pay-per-view. But those two matches saved the show and made it into an entertaining show, I would say, overall. So that's it for my TNA Lockdown 2011 pay-per-view review. Peace.